Imagine you dived into the sea. You then found this device. What is this device exactly? People split into two groups. Group 1, a group of cavemen. Group 2, a group of peasants. Group 1 said they thought the only way to understand how this device works is to use an old rusty knife to open it. Group 2, they thought the only way to understand how it works is to use the same old rusty knife. This device is so strange, which means it has been put down in the sea by aliens. This is what Group 1 said. We will keep this device and never touch it so that the aliens don't harm us. Group 2 said this device looks like a phone and it doesn't work. It's worthless. We will throw it into the garbage. What do you think of the two groups' reaction? The two groups made quick, irrational decisions, and still we do not know how this device works and how it operates. Both did a very bad job, right? A much better approach would be throw away the old rusty knife, get the correct tools, and try to take the device apart. Look at every component and try to understand how it works. You will then come to the correct conclusion, which is that this is a toy made for kids and it is a 90s design. Then what? Then you will put it in its proper place. You will just give it to the kids to play with. You won't think that it came from aliens to destroy us, as Group 1 did, and you won't just throw it in the garbage like Group 2 did. Moral of the story, don't assume knowledge. Be more calculated and rational. Ask someone who is more qualified than you to fix the problem and be humble. Would you agree to that? Someone could ask me, Murad, why are you telling me this story? Well, this is exactly what happened with Quran translations ever since there were Quran translations. Group 1 said the Quran can't be 100% understood because it is from Allah. Group 2 said the Quran can't be 100% understood because it's from a madman. The problem is that they are both using the old rusty knife to try and crack the Quran, or should I say, the SIN Standard Islamic Narrative. The story that I have just told you is fiction, but the bad sin-based Quran translations are a reality. The question with the Bible usually is which translation is better, but with the Quran, it's which translation is worse. Sin equals the old rusty knife, SIN Standard Islamic Narrative, and they just can't stop sinning. The SIN Standard Islamic Narrative myth. What is the Standard Islamic Narrative really? You have the exegesis of the Quran, you have the Hadith, which are the sayings of Muhammad, you have the biography of Muhammad, you have Asbab al-Nuzul, meaning reasons of dissensions of the verses, and also you have the Mecca and Medina quote-unquote phases. Is this stuff valid to crack the Quran? This is a question that we'll try and answer. If I were to give you a Spanish book and ask you to explain it in detail, do you think it would be a good idea to ask someone who actually knows Spanish? Alright then, why when it comes to the Quran, you ask someone who does not know Arabic? I am talking about Al-Tabari, Al-Baghawi, and all these people. They were Persians and did not know proper Arabic. Most of them were Persians, they didn't speak Arabic well. That is why the exegesis of the Quran is laughable. Back in 2020, I made a video with my friend Mel from Islamic Origins. Back then it was Sneakers Corner, and I talked about how the Umayyads and the Abbasids were actually from Central Asia. Now we are not 100% sure about the motives of the caliphs. A lot of politics was going on. So why even listen to them? Because it is a general Islamic consensus? Bad idea. Ironically, the Quran is the only book where if you wanna know the meaning of a word, you never open a dictionary. Instead, you go to Persians who never lived in the same century as Muhammad, nor were Arabs, nor lived close to the Hijaz. And the main problem with these interpretations is that they are built on flimsy reports. This guy said to this guy, said to this guy. Who are these schmucks? Why should I base my Quran translation on these tafseers that are clearly a big sham or shame? Both are right. What is the SIN Quran exegesis? An overarching theme in Quran exegesis is anything the Quran commentators do not know the meaning of, they throw it into the afterlife because they know no one is gonna come back to life and prove them wrong. A very sleazy marketing tactic indeed. An example would be the word Kawthar in Surah 108 verse 1. They say it means a river in paradise, which is pure comedy. They say the phrase, the people of knowledge differed about this issue, and they say this about everything. When you ask today's Arabic-speaking Muslims, why do Muslim commentators differ about every single issue in the Quran, they will say something like, this is because of the mercy of Islam. No, this is because Islamic exegesis is so ignorant about the Quran. Just this reply alone is at the very least stupid and at the very most absurd. Another overarching theme in all these tafseers or exegesis of the Quran is the phrase Allahu A'lam, meaning Allah is more knowledgeable. Fraudulently translated as Allah knows best, by the way. Why do they have this phrase? It is not because they are humble, it is because they really do not know what the Quran is talking about. I mean, picture this. Someone in the street, he could say, excuse me, where is the nearest Starbucks? And you say, well, basically there are 9 opinions. You will say, you sir are full of shit. But what if the very same question is being asked to your humble saint? Where is the nearest Starbucks? I will just say 61 9th Avenue. Who would you trust more? Now let's talk a little bit about the Sunnah. It came from Transoceania, not from Arabia. Here you have Sihah al-Sitta, Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari, Nisapuri, and these people. Bukhari, the place of birth, Uzbekistan. Nisapuri of Sahih Muslim, place of birth, Iran. Al-Qazwini of Sunan ibn Majah, place of birth, Iran. Sunan Abi Dawood, place of birth, Iran. Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Uzbekistan. Sunan al-Nisa'i, Turkmenistan. So as you can see, these people, no one is close to Arabia. Let's pinpoint them on a map. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Iran. No one is from Arabia. Plus, oral traditions survive at the same area it was born in, like the indigenous people of America, for example, they are the ones eligible for you to ask them about tradition, about America. And since all Sunnah writers come from other places than Arabia, then the claim of oral traditions being passed down from Prophet Muhammad is a complete fraud. Let's talk a little bit about Sahih al-Bukhari because it's a hoax. Sahih al-Bukhari doesn't have one original manuscript. This Moroccan scholar wrote a whole book about it. Until now, no one has debunked him. The book is called Sahih al-Bukhari Nihayat Ustura. When you translate it literally, it will be Sahih al-Bukhari, the end of a myth. Debunking him requires one thing and one thing only, a manuscript from the time of al-Bukhari. That never happened. Muslim quote-unquote scholars created a pseudo-science called Ilm al-Rijal, the science of men, which is dumber than the movie Dumb and Dumber. What about the others? Sahih Muslim and the rest of the gang, you could ask. Well, their case is even worse than Bukhari, as explained by this Moroccan scholar in his book. Plus, these writings are not all about Muhammad. For example, you have the she monkey getting stoned story in Bukhari. Has nothing to do with Muhammad. Let's talk about the biography of Muhammad because this is one of the hoaxes of the SIN Standard Islamic Narrative hoax. Al-Mansur, which is the second Abbasid caliph, is the one who requested Ibn Ishaq to write the biography of Muhammad for his son Al-Mahdi. And as you can see, of course, Caliph Al-Mansur is from Central Asia. Just look at his features, look at his clothes, but this is a separate issue. He has nothing to do with Arabia. Ibn Ishaq wrote this biography 130 years after Prophet Muhammad's supposed death. Problem? The original of Ibn Ishaq is lost. The original of Al-Bakkai is lost. The original of Ibn Hisham is lost. Robert Spencer's Did Muhammad Exist? Shows very well the problems with the biography of Muhammad, and also Crossroads to Islam shows how archaeology leads to Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, which is the real founder of Islam actually. Let's talk a little bit about Asbab al-Nuzul, meaning reasons of dissension. Asbab al-Nuzul, the literal meaning is verses flying down from heaven as seen in this picture. But Muslim translators, of course, translate it as, why was this verse revealed? This is a highly narcissistic, self-centered approach to the Quran, later created by Muslims after owning a complete Quran. On one level, it is made to cover up the fact that they do not know what the Quran is actually saying, and on a deeper level, the idea was crafted to forge the life of Muhammad into the Quran, when in reality the Quran does not know Muhammad. What about Mecca and Medina? Or should I say Muhammad and Moses? A SIN Standard Islamic Narrative claims these verses were revealed in Mecca and these were revealed in Medina. Reality is Muhammad's immigration or hijrah from Mecca to Medina is a hoax remodeled on Moses' exodus with his people out of Egypt for being persecuted for their new monotheism. The details of this scam are not to be discussed here. So this is just another stupid SIN Standard Islamic hoax narrative to make the Quran fit the story of Muhammad. Now, adding insult to injury, no one actually agrees which verses are Meccan and which verses are Medinan. And sometimes half of the verse is in Mecca, the other half is in Medina. I mean, picture this. You have Mecca and you have Medina. And I say something like, hey man, let's go grab some. And after 2 to 4 weeks of traveling on a camel, I say, coffee. What is this? It is absurd. Now here are some things that are actually not mentioned in the Quran so that no one fools you. Hijrah, specifically from Mecca to Medina. Isra and Mi'raj, commonly translated as night journey in English, which is fraudulent, but you know it in English as night journey. The doctrine of abrogation. The black stone, Ashura, Muhammad's wives, Muhammad's companions, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, the 5 pillars of Islam, and many, many more. These things come only from the SIN Standard Islamic Narrative. Enough is enough. The sin doesn't have holes in it, it's just one big hole. As Dr. J. Smith always says, you got the wrong man at the wrong place doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. Even Muslim scholar Yasser Qadi acknowledges this. Listen.
And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions.
Don't worry, I will barbecue the sin on my YouTube channel Saint Murad. If you are interested, of course, you can subscribe. So the sin is a hoax. It is the old rusty knife which I have shown you in the story in the beginning. These tools are not valid to crack the Quran. Now let's talk about Muslim Quran translations, which are of course sin-based. What does a Muslim Quran translator have next to him before translating the Quran? The SIN Standard Islamic Narrative, which is the rusty knife. He is an orange. If your mother called you for dinner and you are in your room and then you said, I am coming, but then it took you like 4 hours, then something fishy is going on. Same with the Quran. If it takes you 15 years to translate it in this day and age, then definitely something is going on. An honest person would open a dictionary and start translating right away. The Quran is the only book in history that when you want to translate it, you never open a dictionary, but you go to other writings written by Persians who are way too late. Muslim Quran translators started translating from Surah 1 without creating their own concordance. It is evident from their lack of consistency in word choice. If you listen to them speak, you will see how weak of a caliber they are. They are incompetent at the least and dishonest at the most. Why did it take Muslim Quran translators so many years to finish their work? One, because they are too occupied with trying to make the text conform to the standard Islamic hoax. Two, because they are putting a lot of effort into a dumb exegesis. Three, because they are consuming a lot of time crafting ways around the text to fool English readers. They are simply blinded by the SIN Standard Islamic Narrative, pun intended. Why do they always have a commentary? This is a hidden secret. Muslim translators of the Quran would never give you a translation without some sort of exegesis. This is not because they are trying to help you. It is because they fear you reading the bare Quran. Because if you do so, you will realize that it does not know Muhammad and then the sin falls. Muslim Quran translations are propaganda driven. Any Quran translation is funded by an entity, and what the entity wants is what the entity gets. What's the difference between me and them? For Muslim translators, Allah is their target audience, while for me, the reader is my target audience, which is a huge difference. Plus, they are highly paraphrased. None is literal. For example, Muhammad Assad, who is a Jew who converted to Islam, is paraphrasing like there is no tomorrow. What about lies? Of course, also like there is no tomorrow in these translations. I won't get into much more details as I know that our audience, my audience who are watching are smart, and they already know that these are not translations but mere propaganda. They are lying for Allah, while I am being honest for the reader. Now here is how the SIN Standard Islamic Narrative corrupts a translation. Let's look at this word here. ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها. They say we do not abrogate a verse or cause it to be forgotten. Almost every single Quran translation uses the word abrogate a verse. This is sad because the word is mentioned 4 times in other contexts, as you can see here. The Arabic word nasakha has a common theme in all these contexts. Do they know the common theme? No, they don't. Do they care? No, they don't. But let me tell you that it does not mean abrogate. Why these translations are wrong by default? Because they never created their own concordance. They are blinded by the sin. They are slaves to the abrogation hoax, which is only present in the sin, not in language. Linguistically, the word nasakha has nothing to do with abrogation. The doctrine of abrogation is another scam by the sin. Please don't be surprised, as this is a drop in the ocean. Free Qurans? A lot of Quran translators wax proud that they put their translation online for free. Reality is they put it online for free because they want to lure people in to convert to Islam, thereby gaining points from Allah, and because their work is low quality. So they're actually playing the lottery without saying so explicitly. In short, Muslim Quran translations contain added words that are not in the original, omit words that are in the original, add names and or places to quote-unquote direct the reader, add headings, section titles, and even whole exegesis to the text, add punctuation, which is not in the original, paraphrase whole sentences to fool the English reader. Are these translations bad? No. They are an epic fail. So we have a huge problem going on. Someone could ask me, Murad, how did these Quran translators get away with so much, with all of this? I get this question. My answer is because they never thought that one day Saint Murad will rise up to expose them for you. That's the reality. Oh, and as for Muslim Quran translators, don't they keep saying that this is just the meaning of the Quran? Then they confess that it is not a translation, right? Good, because now we do have a Quran translation. I bet they didn't see that coming, because Saint Murad is based. Now let me tell you a little bit about Abdullah Yusuf Ali, which is the original sinner. Abdullah Yusuf Ali is very famous for his Quran translation. Most people maybe just know this translation. After scanning all the well-known Muslim translators of the Quran, I have come to the conclusion that none of them are original, and basically All of them copied from Abdullah Yusuf Ali, who himself plagiarized his translation as he did not know proper Arabic. As Muslim scholar Yasir Qadi actually acknowledges. Listen.
The most famous translator of the Quran of the previous century, Abdullah Yusuf Ali, whose impact in the translation was well known. All of us who grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we know Abdullah Yusuf Ali's translation as being the one that had the most impact, even though, long story, but it wasn't very accurate. Number one. Number two, can you believe this is completely tangent? Abdullah Yusuf Ali couldn't speak Arabic properly. There's another point. He plagiarized it, but that's a whole different story, not related to our topic.
Now we will move to non-Muslim Quran translations, which are also based on the same sin. What does a non-Muslim Quran translator have next to him before translating the Quran? Just like his fellow Muslim, the non-Muslim, he has the Standard Islamic Narrative, which is the old rusty knife. Again, this person is an orange. Robert Spencer, for example, the critical Quran is based on the sin. If you look at the title, it has explained from key Islamic commentaries. And that is exactly the problem. That is the sin. So he is an orange. Robert Spencer's Quran is based on picthole. Then he used it as his skeletal text. Then he changed it a little bit. Listen.
To the you use Picthol, I was a little surprised that you use Picthol for your standard for your English translation. Why Picthol?
Well, in the first place, I've got to say that it's Picthol, but it's modernized and it's revised so that it's much easier to read than Picthol's original translation. And because, and also it's changed completely when it comes to various important passages where it appears that his translation was inferior to others, and we opted for a different reading. But I actually did that because I wanted to defang the objection that people were going to say that this is not a guy who's fluent in Arabic. How can he produce a new English translation? And a lot of the people who are criticizing the book without having looked at it, they don't realize that we're working from the basis of a translation that is one of the foundational translations of the Quran into English, written by a Muslim for fellow Muslims, and that is still popular today and considered to be in the main reliable. And so that is, it's hard, they really can't assail the translation that's in the critical Quran without attacking Picthol, which gets them into some difficulties. And then Picthol is modernized and revised in light of various discoveries of modern scholarship, various philological investigations that are explained in the notes.
Let me ask you something. Arabic is my mother tongue. Do you think someone who does not know Arabic will be as competent as someone who is a native Arabic speaker in translating the most difficult Arabic book? Let's look here at the word again, ما ننسخ من آية. Here you have Osama Dakduk, and you have Robert Spencer, and you have Sahih International, which is a Muslim translation. Osama says, we do not abrogate a verse or whatever verse we abrogate. Robert Spencer says, abrogate and revelation. The Muslim that says, abrogate a verse. Do you see a difference between Muslim and non-Muslim translations in this verse? No. Why? Because they are using the same material, the sin. It's as if Robert and Osama, they say gay only means homosexual, so that makes them oranges, and I say in the to mean happy, and now it means homosexual. That makes me an apple because I'm looking at the meaning of the word at that time. I am trying to get closer to the time of the Quran pre-Abbasids, before the Abbasid Caliphate. Now there are rumors that Christian Prince is going to create his own Quran translation. It will again be based on the SIN Standard Islamic hoax. Same old rusty knife. Mary Harb, which is Too Many Marys, despite not knowing Arabic, is also currently translating the Quran. She relies on the SIN, as she explains in this clip. Listen.
Well, I am actually, Usama doesn't know this, I'm actually working on my own translation of the Quran, as well as I am also working on, along with translating, is a massive footnoting. So, not just like this is what this word means, but this is what the Islamic sources say that people said about this. So, you can go to what it ought to really mean, because sometimes like what they say that it means is clearly not what it means. Sometimes it's hilariously different from what it clearly means in the text and their determination not to make it mean what it means. But it's still good to document that kind of stuff. So I'm going to Al-Razi, Ibn Kathir, the actual Arabic one that translating everything and not just the English one that has a bunch of stuff pulled out of it that's embarrassing. I'm going to Mukatil, even though he's referenced in other sources, going to his original one, because the earliest tafseer they don't like to use, Al-Suyuti, his Al-Dur al-Manthur, not Jalalain, because it's much longer and much more exhaustive. Al-Qurtubi is the best. Al-Qurtubi is like among my favorites. Al-Talabi, I'm not sure how his name is said, but all of the big major Sunni tafsir.
So as you see, she's using the exact same material, and she loves Qurtubi, who doesn't know Arabic well. So Christian Prince and Mary Harb, same sin, they are beating a dead horse. We have hundreds of translations based on the sin. Didn't you get bored, my friend who is listening to this video? Do we need another sin-based translation? Most likely not. So as you can see in this graph, the Muslims, they rely upon the SIN Standard Islamic Narrative. They are this caveman in our story. They use the same old rusty knife. Non-Muslims use the same material, same old rusty knife. They are the peasants in our story. They are better looking, they are more sincere, but they are using the same material. They are all oranges. The difference is Muslims, most likely they are liars and they are trying to make Islam look better in most cases, but the Christians or the non-Muslims, they are sincere. They try to say it as it is for their English-speaking audience. I know that's a big difference, but still they arrive to the same conclusions most likely. Now let's go to another exotic place, my friend. And that is the Saint Murad's Quran translation, the only apple which is language based. Now let me tell you my story. I am a native Arabic speaker from the Middle East. Arabic is my mother tongue. I have never studied in any Islamic institution, and I regard this as a plus. That is why I'm not polluted with the sin propaganda. Throughout this journey, I was actually in a game of chess with the Quran. It's a mind game. We are using our logic here, not the sin. A sinless Quran translation. We all actually have a common enemy if you think about it, and that's the sin. The only reason you trust the sin is that you never knew it was this bad, and you think it has no valid alternative. the sin is hiding the primitive layer of the Quran, which was suppressed mostly by the Abbasids. I said to myself, never touch the sin and let's translate the Quran without it. I knew that I was the only one to do that. But before I show you how I did it, let's listen to a real scholar's opinion about the Quran and the sin. So this is Patricia Kroon, who wrote, of course, Hajarism, Making of the Islamic World, and I am sure most of my audience know her. This is just a snippet from the documentary of Tom Holland. Listen to what she has to say about the Quran.
We have the Quran, and you can't tell the story of the basis of the Quran. We have various early non-Muslim sources. They don't add up to a story. We have nothing. We have this one book out of a nothing. There's complete darkness.
So as you see, she said, there is complete darkness, as if the Quran came out of nowhere. That's why you have to treat the Quran as if it's a separate entity. A covenant. I am making a covenant with my audience. I swore to deliver my people the best translation ever, not just because I am very passionate about the subject, but also because you gave me so much love on YouTube, and I just want to give back. Now remember, our friends here, the Muslims and the non-Muslims, when they started translating, what did they have next to them? The sin, the old rusty knife, that makes them all oranges. Now me, on the other hand, I had something totally different next to me as I was translating the Quran. I had the correct tools. I had الفروق اللغوية للعسكري, which is the linguistic differences for al-Askari, and I had the Arabic dictionary, and I had the Oxford dictionary. This is linguistics. That makes me different, using a different methodology. First thing first, checking the word and its variations in every single Quranic verse. That's how I started. I used an Arabic Quran tool which finds the Quranic word in every single verse and counts them. It's called Al-Munaqqib Al-Qur'ani, meaning the Quran mining tool. It's a tool that you English speakers maybe are not familiar with because it's Arabic only. This really helped me get the closest understanding to how the author actually intended the word without the pollution of the sin. Let's check the word nasakha again. This is the only example I'm using in this presentation. It's used 4 times. Now these 4 times, there is a common theme in the word. It cannot contradict one another unless the author is a madman. But I am not assuming the author to be crazy. I'm assuming he is sane and the sin is polluting what he had to say. The word nasakha is mentioned 4 times in the Quran. In my translation, I have one English word for this Arabic word 4 times also. Why? Because the words I choose are so accurate that they fit like a glove in every single context. You will not find this in other translations. I have done this with every single word in the Quran, not once but multiple times. This helped me with my next step, the concordance. So, first step in the Saint Murad's translation ladder was creating my own concordance from scratch. I started by creating my own concordance from scratch with every single word present in the Quran. This brought up a lot of surprises to the surface. This also led to an ultra-sharp accuracy. Let's say the word asabi' in the Quran always translated as fingers, but in Arabic actually we know now that it's digits, because in Arabic there are no fingers and toes, rather digits. The word himar is translated as donkey, when in reality they are exclusively male donkeys in an informal way. That's why I have it as jackass. Kelb, for example, is translated as dog, where in reality it is specifically a dog that hunts. That's why I have it as hound. This is proven by Surah 5 verse 4. This is the work of someone who has done his homework with his concordance. Now please don't say something like, why is this important? Because if you are being mediocre in translating words like these, then you will most likely be disqualified in translating words that are actually important and affect the whole religion. Like a pencil, the more you sharpen it, the better. My concordance was becoming sharper and sharper by the day, sometimes serendipitously correcting errors from 14th centuries ago. So now the concordance is getting sharper. I then moved to another step, which is not an average step, and that is I have read the whole dictionary, over 4,000 pages, Oxford abridged version. Why? To increase my vocabulary. I highlighted a lot of words that I knew might be in the Quran. Now, this really helped strengthen my concordance. Then I read an actual linguistic source. People are obsessed with the Quran being a linguistic miracle, but they never read any linguistic sources about it. Next step, I read the whole book, which is Al-Furuq al-Lughawiyya al-Askari, meaning the linguistic differences by Al-Askari. Why? To discern the very subtle differences between every Arabic synonym. I have also noticed that Muslims don't respect the Quran at all. They say it is a linguistic miracle, yet they don't obsess over linguistics. They don't read books like Al-Askari, and they put their head into the SIN Standard Islamic hoax. So after reading, of course, Al-Askari, my concordance got even sharper. I then read and looked into all possible English words of Arabic origin. Why? So that the English word of my choice is not just accurate in meaning, but sometimes it is also a direct loan word and sounds the same. But please don't worry, I have only used them in rare cases where the meaning and the sound are the same. This further strengthened my concordance. So the concordance at this point was 100% perfected. In Arabic, just like in English, there are words, of course, that are formal, informal, humorous, vulgar, poetic, etc. After I have perfected my concordance, I checked to find the perfect fit also. I also translated the English words back into Arabic to see what comes out, so that I can further choose a better word. Archaic or modern English? This is a question that a lot of people asked me. Do you think we have the luxury to choose? This is a question I ask. I don't care. Anything that gets the job done. So my translation is actually a mix of both, because this is the only way to encompass a Quranic word. And the Quran in Arabic itself is a mumbo jumbo of old words that are archaic and modern. Why have archaic pronouns? Well, in English, you have a very firm translation to rely on with the Bible, which is the King James Version. But when it comes to the Quran, you do not have one. That's why I had to do it this way. Is it necessary? Yes, of course, and let me show you why. In Arabic, you have anta will be singular, male singular, antum plural, antuma pair. Now in all or in most Quran translations, you just have you. Of course, the Quran is already obscure and does not need further obscuring. So in the Murad translation, of course, anta would be thou, antum would be ye, and tuma would be both of you. Yes, I had to do it this way so that there is less confusion, because if I just have it all as you, then I am actually harming the Arabic Quran, because in the Arabic they are distinct, they are not the same. Like a good hairstylist, I started adding the final touches to my concordance. The concordance itself isn't for sale, it's like the KFC secret recipe, because people ask me about it, but it is all contained in my Quran translation. It took me 4 years to finish my concordance. Now that my concordance is complete, I then head to the Quran itself. Since I like being neat, I manually dissected each surah of the Quran into PowerPoint slides like this, taking every page as a snapshot so that every PowerPoint slide has half a Quranic page with a blank box next to it. This took me a few days to complete. So dissecting every surah into PowerPoint form, that was the next step. Next step was start translating now that you have your concordance. So I basically started copying my concordance into my translation, and this resulted in over 90% consistency rate with the words I have chosen. All other translations not even 10% consistent, since they do not know what consistency even means. This step took me just a few months. So this led to the Murad translation that you see on the right. What about the design which I used in the translation? I retained the 1924 Arabic Quran design as much as possible. I also retained all the symbols in the Arabic Quran which they never put in English, and I do not know why. You can say this is a carbon copy, my Quran from the Arabic Quran. Now, people will say, Murad, do you have any brackets in my translation? I don't, but let me show you that I have only one form of brackets. Let me explain what they are. Let's say the word Rahat. It means a clan ranging from either 3 or 7 to 10 or less people. Now, how can I put this in English without you assuming that in Arabic you have this whole phrase? I can't. So I put it in brackets because there is no English equivalent for something like this. I put it this way so that you know that this bundle of words actually represent one Arabic word. But it is an integral part of the word, not an added commentary. So read my brackets, they are original and they come straight from the Arabic dictionary. These brackets are rare, but I have to do it this way. What about untranslated words in my Quran translation? This is Professor Gerd Puin, who was the head of the restoration project commissioned by the Yemeni government, and he worked at this Sana'a manuscript, which is currently believed to be the oldest Quran manuscript. Now, what does he have to say about the Quran? He says, the Quran claims for itself to be mubin or clear, and here I just want to show you this sentence. He says, every fifth sentence or so simply doesn't make sense. If the Quran is not comprehensible, if it can't even be understood in Arabic, then it is not translatable. And this is what Dr. J. Smith calls the dark passages. It is not translatable. Untranslated words are a mistake of the author, Allah, not the translator. It's not my mistake. I am okay with it being considered a negative in my translation, but I am not okay with just filling the gaps. So there are words that are not translated in my Quran translation simply because I did not find them in the Arabic dictionary and I do not know their meaning. This is not a problem. When they Arabized the Quran, they ruined it. The original meanings of these words are actually lost. When I say they mean they might have an Aramaic meaning, this is an assumption. This is something that's very new, that is not complete, so I cannot crack everything. I'm just working with Arabic in this translation. Now, so that you are aware, we're gonna reiterate the same point. The SIN Standard Islamic Narrative rendition of the Quran, then you have the Muslim translators and the non-Muslim translators. They are all oranges. The only apple you will have, which has the original primitive meanings of the Quran, would be mine. It is the first work of its nature. Now, what actually makes my Quran translation unique? And I say the Murad translation, a better revelation. My translation could be the missing link. People told me, Murad, you have to tell the people why is your product better. Then I thought, better? It is not better. It is the first product to come to existence. It is the first ever Quran translation that ignored all of the SIN Standard Islamic hooks. This translation will give you the hidden layer of the Quran, which was suppressed by the Abbasids and their sin. You can say it serves as the missing link between the time of Muhammad, if he existed, till the Abbasid Caliphate. My translation will get you much closer to understanding the secrets of the Arabic language. Yes, it is not the final answer. The final answer might be a future full Aramaic translation. But still, it is a big step towards cracking Islam's code. Allow me to illustrate. Here you have Muhammad, if he existed, Rashidun, if they existed, and then you have the Umayyads, they of course existed, and then you have the Abbasids. All our friends here, Muslim translators of the Quran and non-Muslim, they work with Abbasid material and above. So from the Abbasids all the way to medieval times and even till the Ottoman times. But my translation, since it ignored all of that, it works in this range. So you might be closer to the Umayyads and Rashidun and Muhammad with my translation. Now let me give you just a surprise, is that the famous text in the Quran which says that Jesus healed the leper, it doesn't say that. Okay, so this is something you will find in my translation. Tell me, what do you think of it? Bonus, a mysterious letter cracked. Also, this methodology helped me crack one of the mysterious letters in the beginning of the surahs. That was purely serendipitous. I won't tell you which letter it is, you will find it in my translation. And these are just two examples. I could give you a ton, but the presentation would be over 6 hours. Plus, why would I? You will be downloading my translation now and you will see for yourself. This is a question someone asked me, Murad, can't I just use ChatGPT to get the correct Arabic non-sin meaning of words? No, I personally tried that to see how good AI was with this whole issue. What I found is that ChatGPT is more dependent on the SIN than Muslims themselves. And you can check all the online YouTubers, they keep trying ChatGPT and they get the same results. You won't realize how much deception there is in these translations before you read mine. Almost every single word in my translation is different than what you are used to. Here are a list of words or concepts that are not found in my Quran translation. Revelation, book, people of the book, sent down, unseen, disbelievers or infidels, battle of Badr, Yathrib, wife, husband, pair, everlasting, abrogation, hell, hellfire, missiles, forbidden, trial, test, good news, crucify, I seek refuge, lawful, unlawful, sedition, private parts, terror, booty, spoils of war, fight. All these words are not in my translation, and again I could give you legion, but it's just that I know that you're gonna download now so you can see for yourself. Now, in history, there are always some major shifts happening. Robert Spencer's book, Did Muhammad Exist? There is a before this book and an after this book, because it created a storm. It moved the whole debate a step further. Same thing with Patricia Krohn and Michael Cook, Hajarism. There is a before and an after. I foresee an era where there will be a before and after the Murad translation. Not because I am cool, though I am, but because this work could be earth-shattering. What will you lose if you don't get my translation? Not getting my Quran translation will cost you a lot of things. One, you will never be able to know the very literal meaning of Quranic words. You will have to succumb to lies in all other Quran translations. You will remain in the cage of SIN, Standard Islamic Narrative. You will never access the pre-Abbasid Caliphate understanding of the Quran. So on one level, I don't want you to miss out, and on another level, I don't want you to be fooled, my friend. How important is this project for you as a person? This is something I'm asking you. How important is it for you to understand the hidden layer of the Quran and get closer to cracking the code of Islam? How important is it for you, if you are a Christian, to preach to Muslims this hidden layer of the Quran? How important is it for you in general to spread this truth so that more people like you with your same interests get to know this material? If your answer is not very much, then okay, you do you. Fun fact, my translation is the very first ex-Muslim translation of the Quran. If you think this is a cool fact, then please like this video. Now let me show you the 4 products that I'm gonna show you now. Just to be clear, before showing the products, let me tell you that my translation is a digital copy only. There are no physical copies, so that no one is confused. We have an English-only version, PDF. This is the English PDF, and Kindle. So this is the Kindle, this is how it looks. We have an Arabic plus English version, Again, one PDF. This is how it looks. The Arabic is on the right, the English is on the left. And we have a Kindle version, also Arabic English. So these are 4 products. What about the offers that I am going to show you? Before going into the offers, I want to answer this question because I hate this question, my friend. Why is your translation costing money when there are online ones for free? Well, when you go to Walmart and you get something for free, you know it is garbage. So why mine isn't free? Because it is not garbage. It is high value, high quality. That's the reason. Let me show you now. We have 2 offers. One with a very low price and one with a high price. Who is the light version for, which is the low price? This one is for the casual viewers. These are the silent majority, those who never comment on my videos but are always here. The price of this product is equal to 2 of your regular coffees. It is one product which is a complete English version, PDF, but with limitations. It has some limits. These are the limits. So you have here this watermark, do not copy, and it can't be printed and it cannot be highlighted. Limited offer only for 1,000 people, meaning once it's out, it's out. So if you want this one, you better hurry up. Now, what about the complete package? Well, this one is for my warriors who believe in the cause. This offer is not for the casual viewers. You will be funding much bigger projects which you never thought possible by purchasing this complete package. That's the covenant I will be having with you. So you have 4 products for this complete package. The English only version, PDF and Kindle. The Arabic plus English, PDF and Kindle. Let's take a look again here. The light version, which is the cheap version, only one English PDF version, but has limitations. You cannot basically you cannot print or highlight it, and you will not get all of this. So it's only one version. While the complete package, of course, you have the English only version, PDF, English only version, Kindle, English plus Arabic PDF, English plus Arabic Kindle. PDFs can be printed, can be highlighted, plus you will get a digital certificate which I have designed just for you. Now, how to download the Murad translation? Well, of course, the link is in the description box. There is no registration required, no credit card fees. I take care of that for you. Your humble saint takes care of that for you, my friend, as you know. And all of these methods you can use: credit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, all of this stuff. The whole thing takes 4 seconds to complete. Me and my friend, we tested this while we were having coffee. Plus, you can easily do it by your phone, so you do not need a laptop or a desktop. You could just download right away. There is also the Patreon option. If you prefer that, you can get it from Patreon. I will eventually reply to every single comment of people who downloaded my translation. Also, you could inbox me any questions you have. It might take me a while to reply, as there are a ton of people actually messaging me right now, but I will eventually reply. This is a disclaimer that's very important because I don't want to cause confusion. This Quran translation of mine assumes the Quran to be 100% Arabic. It does not include the Aramaic reading of the Quran. It is sort of let's give Arabic its best shot. A complete Aramaic reading of the Quran would be an entirely different project with an entirely different concordance built from scratch again. Depending on how people will respond to my content, it might be a separate project in the future. An Aramaic reading of the Quran can't come into existence without this work being established first. A completely new Aramaic concordance has to be built upon a strong Arabic concordance. So people who are asking me, well, Murad, why didn't you just jump into the Aramaic version? I can't. It is sort of something like you can't bench real heavy unless you have advanced the lighter weights first. Again, do we need another Quran translation? Man, this question. Let me ask you, do you actually have a Quran translation? What you have is a mere shadow of it. It is like calling this the Mona Lisa. Do you need another Quran translation? Hell yes, you do, because you do not have one, my friend. Oh, and by the way, if you know of any Quran translation that is ultra literal, has no brackets, based on linguistics and not on the SIN Standard Islamic hoax, then point me right to it, and then you do not need my translation. But if you don't know of any, then we are back to square one. The light version, the complete package. You do you, you choose the offer which suits you better. Download whenever you like, but believe me, you will be missing out on a lot of fun reading this masterpiece.